welcome to A Web of Stories. My name is Melinda and I'm a hot mess because I live in a hot mess of a world. It is really hot outside. But I wanted to get this video done now because we're supposed to be getting thunderstorms, which we don't normally get here. So I'm trying to get this done while, before the sky falls down. But anyway, I'm here. It's Tag Tuesday, and I'm going to do 2 tags. I'm actually following the lead of Priscilla at Evening Reader, who recently did 2 tags, and I'm going to do one of the tags here. And I like that. I was thinking of trying to space out the tags so I would have content going, but I'm starting to get backed up on things. So I'm going to do these 2 tags together, and then I'm going to tag 4 people. 2 are established booktubers who I love and interact with a lot, and 2 are brand new to booktubers, introducing you to the world of Tag Tuesday. So when I get to the part where I tag you can do, first of all, when I tag people in Tag Tuesday videos, do not feel any obligation to do it if tags are not your thing. There's not a no pressure thing. It's just, I'm thinking of you, you might like this sort of thing. And it's fine if you choose not to do it. I don't care. I mean, I would love it if you did it, but I also understand if it's not your thing. Or if you've done it before, or if you have so many tags to do, I understand all of it. But anyway, the people I tag, you're tagged on one or both of them. You can choose, you can do both, you can do one or the other, or you can not do any, it's up to you. But anyway, let's do these tags. So the first one I'm gonna do is from Brian at Bookish. And I'm using my new tripod with the light, and this didn't print out well, so bear with me here. But this is the Rome book tag. Rome book tag. There we go. I was so excited about this because Rome is like one of my favorite cities on the planet. I have been there twice. I went once when I was 14. You know what? I'm saving this because there's a question about that. Forget what I just said. We're going to talk about Rome. First question, there are 10 questions here. So the first one is, what was the last book you read set in Rome? Or what is your favorite book set in Rome or Italy? So actually, this is the same book because I recently read this book, and it's one that needs a lot more attention on BookTube because it's really an excellent book, and I barely see it on here. And it's a book called Forbidden Notebook by Alba Cespedes. It was actually published in 1950 in Italian, but it was only recently translated into English. The translator is the same translator who does Elena Ferrante's books, and there's a foreword by Jhumpa Lahiri. So basically, this is a novel in journal form about a middle-aged woman who's kind of at a point in her life. She's married with 2 kids. The kids are like adults. They're like 19 and 20 or something like that. And she's got a husband, and she works, and she's got the house, and she's kind of evaluating where her life is and if whether or not she's satisfied. And it really delves into some like kind of deep areas, which I appreciated. But I also really like, this is a story set in Rome, and it's not like every other book that I've read that's been set in Rome has been like Roman times or big Roman events, and you're gonna like the Vatican, or you're gonna go here. This is just life in Rome. And there's something really enchanting about that for me. But it's an excellent book, and I'm highly recommending it because I really think more people need to be reading this book. It is flying too far under the radar. So that is Forbidden Notebook by Alba Cespedes. I definitely have thoughts about that book. There were things about it I loved, and things about it that I found profound, and things about it that kind of made me mad. So, but it is, I think that's a sign of a good book. So next question. Do you have a favorite book in translation? That's a really, Forbidden Notebook is in translation. I think that's a really broad category. I can stick with the same book, but other really good books in translation that I have read. Well, there was The Hummingbird. I recommended that one to Caitlin and Bandy's books. I read that last year and really enjoyed it. That's also translated from the Italian, but it is set in Florence. What else is there? I've been trying to read more books in translation. I did just read Elena Knows by Claudia Pinheiro, I think is the author, which is translated. It's an Argentinian novel and is translated from the Spanish. You know, it's one that I see a lot around here right now. I guess it was up for the International Booker last year, but I recently read that, and I could definitely, let's just say I could definitely recognize the quality in that book. So yeah, I've been reading, and I have actually, soon I will be starting a book translated from the Chinese, called, I think it's called Bad Kids, something like that. So it's hard for me to narrow down to just one. Okay, question 3. Have you read any writers of the Roman Empire? I've not read any complete books by writers of the Roman Empire. I have read excerpts and things like this in the course of my education. I have a degree in history, and you can't avoid that when you study history. My sort of specialty was British history, but still, you have to do the whole thing. So I have read bits and pieces, but never anything completely, you know, I have not read all of Ovid. But yeah, so I have read, you know, I've surveyed it. Let's say that. I can't say that it has especially stuck with me. Old dead guys in togas are not really my jam, but you know, whatever. The next question. Have you read any books in other languages? I have read one book completely in another language, and that was Le Petit Prince by Saint-Exupéry, which I read in French back when I was studying French, and there you go. I think that everyone who studies French to the point where you start reading things reads that book in French. So that's really the only one that I have read. I didn't continue along. Once I got to college, I think I did a couple semesters of French, and then I was kind of done. So I haven't really read that much in a foreign language. And then I took a year of Japanese, but not anywhere close to the point where I could read anything in Japanese. And I'm currently doing Spanish on Duolingo, which not to the point where I can read anything in Spanish other than other than signs around town. So, okay, our next question was, do you have a favorite movie set in Rome? Okay, I gotta be honest, the only movie I can think of that I've seen that's set in Rome is Gladiator, which is a movie that's a movie that I think is more fun than good. Does that make any sense? Like, I know it won the Oscar. I don't think it deserved the Oscar, but it was a really fun movie to watch. So yeah, I can't think of it. As far as movies, I do remember my husband and I watched the HBO series Rome, which he really liked. I kind of felt like it kind of went off the rails a little bit towards the end, but we did watch that. Trying to think of other movies that I've seen that take place in Rome, and I'm drawing a blank. So I'm going to stick with Gladiator, and I'm probably going to live to regret that at some point, but there you go, Gladiator. Okay. Question 5. What is your favorite Italian car? The only Italian cars I can think of are Lamborghinis and Alfa Romeos, and I could not pick them out of a lineup. So there you go. I'm not a car person. I can barely remember American-made cars. My husband's family, they're very into cars. And my father was a mechanic, although in the military, he was a mechanic on aircraft. But he knows more about cars. My husband's family knows more about cars. I am not a car person. Okay. Number 7. Did I do that right? Yeah, number 7. Many of Shakespeare's plays were set in Italy. Do you have a favorite? So this is a really interesting question because I'm going to be doing a video on another topic where I'm going to talk about Romeo and Juliet. So I'm going to say right now my answer is not Romeo and Juliet. But I do think, isn't A Midsummer Night's Dream kind of set in, that's like my favorite Shakespeare play. I forget which ones are set in Italy. A lot of them were. I mean, my favorite Shakespeare plays were A Midsummer Night's Dream and Twelfth Night. So I like those. I did read Julius Caesar in school and I enjoyed it. And that's obviously set in Rome. But yeah, so I would have to say that. Yeah, there you go. Shakespeare. Yeah, the Tudors loved Italy, which is interesting if you think about it. Think about everything else the Tudors did. Do you have a favorite Italian writer? I wish I knew more Italian writers. I can cheat on this one and say Jhumpa Lahiri, since she is now living in Italy and writes in Italy and then translate her books back in English, which I don't quite understand. Why don't you just like write it in Italian and write it in English? Why do you go through the process of translating it? But I don't know. Anyway, I could lie and say Jhumpa Lahiri. But she is an American citizen. At least she was an American citizen. She might have Italian citizenship now. But beyond that, other than yeah, I can't think of any standout Italian authors that really kind of stick in my mind that I have read more than one book from. So there you go. Number 9. Do you have a favorite Italian dish, or what is your favorite pizza topping? Oh man, I love Italian food. Like, oh man, I love it. I can't even, I like it all. Like, okay, honestly, my favorite's gelato. So there's that. I love gelato. But I will eat my way through Italy, and I have eaten my way through Italy. The one thing in Italy that I don't like to eat is pizza, because I'm used to American style pizza, and specifically my favorite pizza is called Willamette Valley style pizza, which is not at all like Italian pizza. But if you want my favorite pizza topping, I like meat and sausage, pepperoni. That's what I think. I don't ruin my pizza with vegetables. Ugh. But yeah, so I do love Italian food. I think probably my favorite, if I had to choose one Italian dish, it would be spaghetti carbonara. I used to make that a lot for my family. I don't anymore because my husband is on a diet where he doesn't eat a lot of carbs. But my kids love it. I should make it again. Oh, did you hear my daughter over there? She just heard me say that. Make spaghetti carbonara again sometime. Yeah. See, she likes it too. Okay, last question. Have you ever been to Rome? I have been to Rome. I've been to Rome twice. Back to my Rome stories. So I went once when I was going into my sophomore year in high school. I went with my mother. We did a tour of Europe. And that was a very, I did not enjoy Rome that time for a couple reasons. One is I was with my mother, who has no sense of direction. So my whole job was to get her where she needed to be. Plus you're 14 and like, you can't just go off and do your thing. And also when I was 14 and I went to Rome, and I thought I was crazy about this, crazy thinking this, but I'm not. The men were very forward, shall we say, which really freaked me out. I was like 14, 15, almost 15 years old. I wasn't even 15. Now I went to Rome again. I didn't want to go to Rome on our honeymoon, but my husband talked me into going to Rome. So we went to Rome and I loved it the second time. I didn't have to get my mother from place to place. We were able to really explore things. And I didn't have negative experiences with the men, the sort of stereotypical men, you know, not respecting the boundaries of women. And so I thought, I didn't know why that had changed. And I thought, well, is it me? What's going on here? Did I dream what happened when I was 14? What's going on? And shortly after we got back from our honeymoon, I read, and I am definitely not recommending this book because I hated it, but I read for a book club, Eat, Pray, Love. It's a very well, that's a horrible book. But anyway, in this book, Elizabeth Gilbert talks about the first place she goes is Rome. And she has the same experience where she had been before, and men were always coming up and like grabbing her and pinching her tush and trying to kiss her. And then some time passed and she went back again and they were no longer doing it. So I did not dream it, unless it's just me and Elizabeth Gilbert, which I doubt. But they've kind of gotten the message that, you know, women don't like that. Hands off. So I love Rome. I am actually sort of, maybe, possibly, kind of, we might be doing a trip that would include Rome summer of 2024. If things work out right and all that, we'll see. My kids are getting older. My daughter's, as I've said before, is totally into Greek mythology. So we're thinking of doing Athens or Greece and then Italy. But we'll see how it works out. Nothing is really planned now. So that is the Rome tag. I'm going to put some pictures of my Rome trip for my honeymoon here. And then we will come back for the other tag. Okay, the second tag I'm going to do, I was tagged by Priscilla at Evening Reader, and this is a really quick tag. This is the this or that tag. So it basically, you're given two things and you choose this or that. It's very easy. And I'll just go through this pretty quickly. The first one, paperback or hardback. Probably trade paperback would be my favorite. I think it's just the easiest to hold and all that. I have nothing against hardbacks though. I don't like mass market paperback. I don't read those anymore. They're too hard on your hands and yeah. And also the print is very small in them. Okay, next question. Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings? Well, I've never read Lord of the Rings, and I have sat through the movies. I don't know what happened. I was kind of forced to. I have read all of Harry Potter and seen all the movies and all that. So it's an easy question. I'm a Harry Potter person. And as I've said in previous videos, once an author releases their work, it belongs to the world, not to the author. So I'm okay saying I'm a Harry Potter person. Not okay with them redoing the series. I think that's stupid. But okay with being a Harry Potter person, even though the author is a little bit of a garbage human. Next question. Okay. The next question is written on what I printed out, real books or ebooks. I think that they misspoke. I think that was a mistake by the person who created this tag. I think it should say print books or ebooks. So that is the answer. That's what I'm going to answer because ebooks are real books. So this is one that, depending on how I look at this question, I have a different answer. Is it desire or necessity? If it were completely up to me and I could do whatever, it would be print books. I love the idea of holding a book and there's something magical about having that book and reading it, opening it, turning the pages, putting it on your shelf. It's wonderful. But necessity, because I have eye issues, a lot of the times, especially when my eye issues are acting up, it's got to be ebooks because it's just so much easier for me to read. I'm really reading about 50-50 right now with them. So I do read both, but again, I would prefer print books ideally, but practically I prefer ebooks, if that makes sense. Next question, buying or borrowing? Well, I'm trying not to buy so many books. Unfortunately, it has been buying in the past. So I'm trying to get back into borrowing. I've gotten to the point now where I very, very rarely buy an ebook. I have a lot of ebooks that I have purchased that I have not bought. And I just kind of realized, first of all, this is something a lot of people don't know. When you buy an ebook, you are not buying an ebook. You're buying, oh, the ice cream man is coming. Sorry, squirrel. When you're buying an ebook, you're actually buying a license to a file. You're not buying the book itself. And wherever you get that ebook, if you get it through Amazon or Kobo or whatever, they have the right to revoke that license at any time. So it really doesn't make sense really to buy ebooks. And at this point, the only time I am buying now I say at this point, because this has definitely not always been the case, but at this point, the only time I'm buying ebooks is when it is a case that I cannot get it from the library and I need it right away. Otherwise, right now I'm getting books from the library and from NetGalley. But now for print books, I have a lot of those too that I haven't read, that I purchased and have not read, but I am more willing at this point to buy a print book because I am trying to be careful about it and only buying books that I realistically expect will end up on my keeper shelf. And I am fine with buying used books when necessary. So still, I'd like to get to a point where the library is my main source, but right now I am actually really trying to work down my owned TBR. And then I'll be using the library a lot more than I currently do, because right now I'm mostly just using it to borrow ebooks. Reading in bed or in a chair? Oh, so this is an interesting one. It's in bed, but not like, I mean, I do read in bed before I go to bed, but I always take some time after I eat lunch to read, and I usually go upstairs and sit on my bed and read. The reason is I'm looking at it right now. I have this like red Barca lounger that my husband got me to read in. But we had to move it for the Christmas tree. And then the Girl Scout cookies came in and now we just haven't put it back. So it's not where I want it to be. Plus at certain times of the year when I normally read, I can't read in that chair because the sun comes in at a weird angle. So generally I would say in bed or on the bed, I'm more likely to read there. Oh, and for Mother's Day, my husband got me this little reading pillow where you kind of like put your book up. It's really cool. And it's actually great. I really enjoy it. I mean, I've had it for like 24 hours now and I love it. Okay. So the next question is library or bookstore. Isn't that the same as buying or borrowing? see my answer for buying or borrowing, although I do love a bookstore. I've seen people talk about bookstores. They say, whenever you go to a bookstore, buy a book because you want to support the bookstore, which I completely 100% support the spirit of that. But if you are buying a book solely to support a bookstore, you are better off buying something like a mug or bookmarks or something like that, because there's a much higher profit margin on that for the bookstore. So my personal view is I like to always buy something from a independent bookstore when I go in, but it's not always a book. Because sometimes I go in and I want a book. Otherwise it's a mug or some bookmarks or something like that, because they're going to get more of that money. It's just the way it is. Yeah, let's see. Next question is nonfiction or fiction. Definitely more fiction than nonfiction, although I do read nonfiction. I just am. I mean, my fiction, I prefer it to be narrative nonfiction, so that's a lot like fiction. But yeah, I'm a fiction person. Print or audio? Okay, so I do both. In print, I'm assuming also means ebook. I would say this, eye reading or ear reading. I do both, however, I much prefer eye reading. I'm just really slow with an audiobook. It'll take me a long time to get through it. If I'm listening to something, it tends to be a podcast, and I'm always way behind my podcast. So it just takes me longer to do an audiobook. And I am not someone who thinks that audiobooks are not reading. I mean, audiobooks are reading. However, your mind processes information differently if it comes in through your ears and if it comes in through your eyes. And it's different from person to person. And in some cases, it might be better for them to listen to a book than read it. I'm just a sort of a visual person. It's better for me to read it than listen to it if I want to retain a lot of information. There you go. So I would say print, although I do both. Okay. New books or old books? So I'm not sure about this question, if they mean like new releases versus backlist, or new books versus used books. I will say I read a lot of backlists, and I'm fine with that. I'm fine reading backlist. In fact, I have to be careful with new releases because if the hype is there, like I want to read a new release before it gets hyped. And once the hype starts, I need to step back for a while and then let it kind of die down before I read it. So I'm careful with new releases, but I read a lot of backlists, mostly because I'm trying to read through all the books I have in my house. As for buying books, if you want a new book or a used book, I'm fine either way. I will do either. I have gotten some great deals on used books, and I love my library book sale and my little library pop-up store. I always check that for books. Lots of times for myself, I buy books that I had previously read and loved in ebook or audio format so that I have something to put on the shelf. That's what I'll buy from there. So yeah. And finally, short chapters or long chapters? Definitely shorter chapters, although long chapters are fine if there's chapter breaks. Mostly what I'm looking for is an ability to pick up a book and put it down. So someplace where I can easily stop reading, go to bed or go do whatever, and then pick it up later. So if you have a long chapter, but it breaks up in several, that's fine. I don't have a problem with it. I will say an audiobook, I definitely want short chapters because I want to be able to stop at an actual end of a chapter in an audiobook, just for my own kind of sanity. So those are the questions. And if you look into the description box for this video, you will see all the questions, who tagged me, and all that jazz. And now I'm going to tag 4 people, as I said. And again, no obligation, but just so you know, I'm thinking of you and you might like doing these. I have 2 people that do a lot of tags, and 2 booktubers that I, can interact with a lot, and I really enjoy their videos, and then 2 booktubers who are brand new to me that I just discovered, and I have really enjoyed their videos that I have seen so far. And both of them could, use some more eyes on them because they're still small. So first, Caitlin at Vandy's Books. I specifically thought of her because she likes to travel. So I thought she might have something good for the room book tag, but if she wants to do it. And then also Sandy at Ms. Reads a Lot. And then for the newer booktubes, there's Allie at Allie Read a Book. She has some really fun videos, and she is fun to watch. And Samuel Gray at Samuel Gray Books. He is a hardcore literary fiction reader, and he's very passionate about books. I love that. So those are two brand new to me booktubers that I highly recommend you check out. And people I tag, if you do these videos, please tag me back so I know that you did it, and I'll make sure I go see them. I don't know what that noise was. This is what happens when I film with my kids around. So I'm gonna go now. If you made it this far, thank you very much. Please leave your, what am I saying? My daughter came to show me something and I got totally lost. Let's start this over again. Thank you very much. And if you made it this far, please give me a thumbs up. All my contact information is in the description box below. Subscribe if you want to hear we're blathering like this. Usually it's the other kid who's distracting me. I don't know what's up with my daughter today. So anyway, I will talk to y'all later. Thank you very much.